This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Every morning by davening we say, after the bruchas, we ask Hashem, Lo lidai nesoyon, v'lo lidai bizoyon. We ask Hashem that He shouldn't put us through challenges, and definitely not through embarrassment and shame. According to the Baal HaTanya, Gehenna is busha. Gehenna is shame. We're not physical in Shemaim, it's on a Shema. What I mean, the mushal is, it's like burning, you're going to burn in hell, right? It's burning, verbrennen, fire, because we need to have a mushal, the Sabbath Oizen, to explain what is Gehenna. So, as a metaphor, we say, Gehenna, Chvayas is fire, hitting, but it's not a physical world over there. So we need to understand the amount of pain the neshama has as a metaphor, as a mushal, is how much a body has pain. But really, what is Gehenna be'etzem? Gehenna is bisha. The neshama comes up in Shemaim, and you see the Rebbeinu Shalom, you see the loving God, the loving being, everything, and you're like so embarrassed of yourself. How dare I do an avaida towards the Rebbeinu Shalom? There's a story of Reb Nachman Breslev, that he was shunned by many people and tzaddikim in his time. Not everybody understood to his mahalach, or they felt that he's wrong in his mahalach. Not that they didn't bash that he's a tzaddik, but they were against him. And there was a yid in a different one of the cities, one of the towns, and he always used to talk against it. Reb Nachman Breslev all his life, he's a shaygit, so you know how people are. The laymen take it to an extreme, and they take all these kind of machlokes between tzaddikim, and they turn it into a shaloi l'shem shemayim. So once Reb Nachman was traveling from city to city, and he didn't tell who he was. He's dressed like a regular, like a pauper, and he came to the town of this yid, which always used to mamish talk against Reb Nachman. And nobody in that city, nobody in that shul knew that this was Reb Nachman. In the olden days, when you came to a town, you went to the Gabba in shul, and after Ma'ariv, the Gabba used to clap on the Ummah and say, we have two guests, who has room for this guest, who has room? So Reb Nachman was one of these people. And this Yid said, I have room in my house. And he didn't know it was Reb Nachman. He saw a Yid. He never told anybody who he was when he traveled, Reb Nachman. He didn't want people to know. And after a few days, he realized that this person, the way he davens, the way he learns up all night, this guy is a tzaddik. This is not just a regular person. And they gave him, they took bruchas from him. In a few days, the whole town saw that they have a special guest. It's not just the regular. And a few days later, another Yid came to town, and he said, you guys, you have Reb Nachman Breslev. This is Reb Nachman. So this person that was always bashing Reb Nachman all his life, he was like, wow. He felt so embarrassed. He felt like such a fool, like such an idiot. Like, how dare I talk again? He felt his feet, and he said, Rebbe, please, Amach Moichel, that I spoke against you. And I thought Reb Nachman has tattoos and earrings and what is it called, the other one? So, Reb Nachman said, now I understand my Zayde, the Heilige Baal Shem HaKudosh in Pashas Emoid. I think the Talmud brings it, a few different Talmidei Baal Shem bring this word from the Baal Shem HaKudosh, that there was once what is Gehenna? The Baal Shem Tov said, the Shtayt, Kain Nekumais Hashem, Kain Nekumais Hafiyah. Hashem gives Nekama, revenge. And how does he give? Kain Nekumais Hashem, Kain Nekumais Hafiyah. It seems like Hashem is like this. The Rebbeinu Shalom that is looking to find us to do something wrong, and when he catches us, he's going to give us Nekama. Chaz v'shalom. The Baal Shem HaKudosh says, no. Kain Nekumais Hashem, how does Hashem give Nekama? Hafiyah. He reveals himself to us. That is his nekoma. How does he give us punishment? What is Gehenna? Like the Baal Shem HaKudosh. Gehenna is when you see wow, and you come up to Shemaim and you see everything that was done to you. All your challenges was the greatest gift that Hashem gave you ever in your life. You feel like that's Gehenna. And the Baal Shem HaKudosh brings a mashal. There was a king, and there was one of the people that was against him, and he was constantly. And this is what Reb Nachman said. The story said that his side said, and this person wanted to do something against the king, and they caught him, and they said they have to hang him, they have to kill him, and the king said, no. I wanted to come work in my chambers. I wanted to come work in the palace. He said, king, a guy like this you have to kill. Bring him in. And this person started working for the king. He was first working in the landscaping. So he got to know the king a little more. And this person started feeling like, and he started realizing that the king is doing so much chesed, how many people are coming, and he's giving tzedukahs and different. And then later the king said a few months later, I want him to work in my inner chambers. Till he worked in the palace. And he told the king, and he said, he felt as well, so how dare I talk against you, or make a plot against you? You're such a good person. And the king said, now you got your punishment. This was your punishment, to get to see who I am. So obviously, Bisha, what we daven every morning, Lo L'dai Nisoyan, we said, the Rebbeinu Shalom, don't give us any challenges anymore. V'lo L'dai Bizoyan, one of the tzaddikim said, yes, challenges we need to have. We grow through challenges, and it turns us into who we are, and it makes us work on our ego and other stuff that we have. But don't give us a challenge that's also a bizayon. That's too much. That's already Gehenna on this world. Lo L'dai Nisoyan, that is a bizayon. All of us sitting in this room, and all the people that was here for Shabbos, we all shed that layer also of the bizayon. Alone, not enough, we're dealing with this challenge, with the nisayon of dealing with children that are mamash in pain, children that are struggling with their personal life and with their Yiddishkeit and with everything else. It's just so much pain for us to see them going through this challenge, their own challenge. It's our challenge, and it's our bisha, and it's our bizayon, and it's we had so much hopes. We wanted to have a certain place in the community. This is across the board. It's not just a Yiddish thing. Every person belongs to a certain norm, a certain community, a certain place where they want to fit in, or at least seem normal. Everybody asks us, "What is it normal if I do that?" What do they mean to say? Does it fit in with the rest of everybody else? That's what it means. It's not normal. Who says everybody does is normal? Is it accepted? That's really what the word normal means. But Lamasa, we're humans, and we want to fit into wherever you live. When in Rome, you dress like the Romans. And here comes one of our children and just puts you out there. And many of us have children that actually go around bad-mouthing us also. That's a triple sign that many people that are sitting one-on-one with a lot of people throughout Shabbos. This is like, whoa, this is next layer. Not only they go through their own pain, and we see them going through their pain, and then we have to go through ours. They still make sure to tell you, my parents abandoned me. Yeah, it could be true sometimes, but many times it's not true, and it's just very, very painful, regardless. So this is our challenge. Sometimes, when it comes to dealing with a challenge, is when we step out of the challenge and we say, you know what, okay, now I'm in this challenge. Let's say I'm 5 years from now, I'm 10 years from now. Then the sign is going to be over, or it's going to be Hometz Hashem, hopefully eventually many of them. Things materialize this way or that way, things change eventually. Think back of all the Nisyonis you had 10 years ago, and 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, and you had Dagas even a few months ago, certain things, what's going to be with it? It worked out at the end. Just like every other Nisyon, how exactly, I don't know, I'm not here to give false promises. But things do move on. I'm long enough dealing with parents that have, until I had my own kid, but even before, I'm dealing 16, 17 years with people, and I'm thinking back of so many extreme cases and boys that came to my house that made sure to eat when I gave them hot dogs together with milk, and or spray painted their hair white, and now they're beautiful people. I mean, they were beautiful then also, but at least they found themselves. Sometimes we need to back up and look at the outside, at the big picture, and say, the Rebbeinu Shalom sees the before and the after. We just see now. But sometimes we need to do that just to help us, abyssal, deal with the stress and the pain of this challenge, of this nisayon and bizayon that we're dealing with. And just gives us a little koyach, a little like, you know what? This is also going to end. This is also, when we're in pain, we think it's all going to be forever. It's everything changes, everything moves on. So what's our greatest enemy when we have a challenge? Time. Time is pain. You know what Hashem created the world according to Chassidus and Kabbalah? When Hashem tzimtzum es atzmai, kaviyachol, He It's a mushal. He compressed himself to create a space where he created the world. What did he create? He created the world means time. That there's such thing as before and after. Because before and after the world, everything is. In time, things need to happen. Things unfold. So when things are unfolding in a very slow pace, it's very painful. So time is very painful. When you climb your finger, a split of a second feels like an hour. And when something goes pleasurable, you have a good moments, it's like, wow, where did the time go? Even with little kids, I remember Chayder, I couldn't wait for that. I have an ADHD, and I couldn't wait for the 11 o'clock when the bell is going to ring, that 15 minutes recess. But from 11 till 11:15 took less than a split of a second. Where did the recess go? I didn't have time for nothing. Get back at the class, the next 15 minutes was 6 hours. And we know it now also as adults. When you enjoy the moment, when you're on vacation, it's just, I can't believe a week passed. And when you're dealing with problems, a minute is ages. In pleasure is above time. Olam Haba is above time. It's endless. It's forever. We can't even understand. And one of the reasons why we're not running after every minute of our day to do mitzvahs and matzvahs, like mamish, like, because in our human psyche, we can't understand that such thing as endless pleasure. We believe it, we understand. Our Eltern Zayid from 1,000 years are still sitting in Gan Eden. Avraham Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, and are still forever. We can't understand it because in this world, as the Baal Shem Tov said, there's tanik tmidi, ain't a tanik. Constant pleasure is not a pleasure. We need it on, we need it off, right? If you love chocolate, I mean, I'm legally diagnosed chocoholic. I know. But you know why I'm chocoholic? Because I don't have it all the time. You buy me my favorite chocolate cases and put it in my room. For the next 2 months, I'm not going to look at chocolate. We only like chocolate because it's not something you buy every 5 minutes. Any pleasure that's constant is not a pleasure. It's a pleasure that we're breathing. A person struggles to breathe, when they went through COVID, the different types of things, and then suddenly able to breathe. Thank Hashem, we have so much tonic every minute of every day. We see colors. For those of us who see colors, I have a best friend that's colorblind. So I have a tonic that I don't feel like I have a tonic because it's there, it's constant. Of course, the goal is to get to a place to have a kudas atoiv and to have recognition, and to be thankful and grateful and to constantly think and realize everything that we have. It should be a tonic, but naturally it's not a tonic. We have it. I'm able to hear, I'm able to come, I'm able to go. Only when we lose something, that's when, unfortunately, that's when we realize that we had. So time is a painful thing. We're always constantly waiting for something. Aren't we waiting for something? We're waiting for 100 things. Each and every one of us are waiting now for 1,000 things. I'm waiting for next week for the payment for this, and I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for my child to grow up. I should grow up. I'm waiting for this. We're always waiting for things. Waiting for things is a touch of Gehenna, is the waiting. When a good thing is here, we're not waiting. We want it. We want the opposite. We want time to stop right now. Let it be. We don't want time to continue when there's pleasure. When there's pain, it's a bit latifa gedank, but I think everybody can understand this, that time is tzimtzum. Time is din. Chesed is above time. Happiness and ahava is above time. There's moments of ahava, there's no time. Time is only our enemy, only our painful thing is when something is... Having this awareness, we could sometimes back up and look at a bird's eye view of our life and say, you know what? From age 0 to age 100, where am I? I'm here, here. There's still a whole world to go. There's generations. The world didn't start and end now, and we try to look at it from the outside of time a little bit and try to see, you know what? As the Torah says, Ivnai Don Chishim. Don, David, Don from the Shiftei Kah. He had one child, which was Chishim. He was mute. So unfortunately, he was deaf and mute. That's all he had. So Kasha is why they said Ivnei Dan Chishim, and the children of Dan. Iben Dan Chishim is one child. It says the Vnei Dan and his children. Can you imagine how Dan felt? He had a child that was not able to learn. He was not able to talk. He was not able to do anything. And all his brothers were having children. And one after was Beniam, and he had like 8 kids. But the next parsha, which is a few hundred years later in history, Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu to count Klal Yisrael. Dan had one of the biggest shvutim. Out of that Dan, that kip that he had, unfortunate kip, got married somehow and had many children, and he had many children. He had one of the biggest shvutim was Dan. There's a big picture. It was very painful for Dan, but if he stepped out of time and he said, you know what? How do we know? How do we know? When we go through a time of embarrassment and bisha, it's so long. I'm in this parsha for years. 2 months feels like years. Ask all of us. We're like, everybody feels old. But sometimes, maybe now even for this few moments, let's say, you know what? Okay. Let's say Leonovi comes down to you now and he says, you know what? Your child is going to have his or her awakening next year, Rosh Hashanah. Like Reb Meir was speaking here yesterday. Meir, what's his name? He was saying that how his child turned around like 1 minute to the next in certain advance. Many people over here, like, where did it come from? That's Hashem, but all of us very soon. But our problem is time, and we don't know what's next. But if Eliyahu Navi would come around and tell you, it's going to be till next year. This is what the child needs to go through. It would be much easier for us. Why? Because you took away time from you. You took away the whole idea of having to wait and guessing game, where we're heading, how long is it going to. This is something that it's going to help us a lot. And then I want to add to this that I think creating support groups for all of us. In Muncie, there's a support group, and wherever Yidden are living, we need to create support groups and sit with other people, just like we have the Shabbos. If we could do this every second week, for the men and women together, or at least at the same time, the husband and the wife should be on the same page. Usually the women are going to show up more than the men. Or they know already, or they don't believe it's a good mahalach, or whatever it is. It's not going to work. So, or together group, men on one side, women on the other side, or at the same time, and by the same facilitator. If we could create support groups, we need so much chizik of going through this Nisayan and Bizayan. There's no other way. How else can we deal with this? First of all, the bisha goes down when you find yourself, like, right, all of us feel like this. It's already Sunday morning. We were here with hundreds of people in the same thing. One of the subconscious layers that it took down was the bisha. Oh, how many people didn't want to come to the Shabbos or Shabbos before? And how many people, after years, they still can't break themselves to come because this is the only thing they still have in their dignity. They have enough bisha in their community, wherever they live, and people, their neighbors are judging them. Why being Makar of your daughter? Why let you let your son come in with a tattoo or with his friends with the car on Shabbos? And they don't understand you, and they don't understand this mahalach and the bisha that they have. But to come for Shabbos and still, but they don't chap coming here is going to help that bisha. The opposite. You're going to find some of the most normal, successful, healthy people are in this room. This gives us, I'm normal, I'm okay. Hashem gave me a sign. Of course, there's many different parts in our brain. One part in our brain beats, we beat ourselves up. I should have done this, I should have done that. We know the guilt part and then the other parts. But these are just parts. But the cycle is that there is nothing to do with the chinuch that we did. And I'm sure all of us could find, that moment when the manal kicked out my son, and when my daughter should have, would have, could have, is the Yetzer Hara. I've seen people that have done everything wrong and their children are Talmidei Chachomim, healthy leaders in Klal Yisrael. And I've seen people doing everything right and they had children going off. And Yitzchak and Ishmael, Yaakov and Esav were both raised. This is the most beautiful part of the Torah. Hashem put it into them. Why did Yitzchak had to go through this, Avram Avinu, for us? That they did us a chesed. That they said, Rebbeinu Shalom, give us a child like this, we're going to struggle. But for future generations, they shouldn't think that it has to do with that the parents weren't doing the right thing. Avram Avinu himself was a kip. He was a kip according to his father. His father was the biggest Oved Avodah Zarah. You remember our great-grandfather, our Zaidi Terach? He was the biggest Oved Avodah Zarah in the world. He was preaching, not monotheism, the opposite, what is it called? And Avram Avinu chose the opposite. So we are children of kips for many generations. So when we come to realize there's still parts in our brain that's going to do self-blame, but that part doesn't have to talk all day. We'll listen to it once a week. Yes, I should have, my husband's fault, my wife's fault, and I should have listened, and why didn't I come to Kesher Nafshi 10 years ago, and I should have, and would have. Very nice, yeah, learn from it. Yeah, it's good to learn from the past. But don't beat yourself up from the past, because it's silly. The Skver Rebbe haben wir gesagt. We say, Shigiyos miyuvan. Mistakes, who understands? He says, me, in the Chassidische Surah, me got to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Mi onoichi. Shigiyos miyuvan, every mistake that you made, Hashem yuvan, Hashem wanted you to make that mistake. Because your child had to go through this, what they're going through now. We are not allowed to beat ourselves in a thinking moment. We're not allowed to beat ourselves up for doing mistakes. The Rebbeinu Shalom are gewollt, das machen a mistake in business and lose that a few $100,000. He wanted you to make a mistake in chinuch. He wanted you to make a mistake. Steht zum Hashem HaKudosh. That a person wakes up in the morning, they have to say, what do I need to do today? I'm going to do this, legaba business, legaba everything in our life, for our health. We're going to go to the gym and we're going to take care of chinuch and everything that we're going to do everything we can today. Before you go to sleep, you have to know everything is up to me today. Whatever I'm doing, that's going to be my tzlucha. Says the Bashem HaKudosh before you go to sleep at night. Everything that I did today, everything that happened to me today, Hashem did it. In the morning, you have to know I have Bechira. Before the fact, you have Bechira. After the fact, you should know you had zero Bechira. It's exactly the way Hashem wanted it to be. How that works is a conversation for 6 hours, not for now. But this is what the Bashem Tov wanted us to understand. Retroactively, everything that happened to us, every decision that we made, every Shigiyas Miyuvim we did, was the Rebbeinu Shalom Zrutzen. We only have Bechira before something happens. After, we have zero Bechira. It's complicated how it works. And the answer to that is, it's like Yediyah Bechira, it's the Rambam has. Anything that has to do with time, we are in a time frame, our brain works there before and after. We're in Tzimtzum, we're still in a place where there's time, so we can't understand something above time. It's an above time concept. Hashem knows what we're going to do before we do it, and then we still have Bechira. How does it work? We are in time frame, we cannot understand something above time. It's a time issue. Every computer in the world has a clock. It cannot work otherwise. If you hack the watch, the clock in a computer, everything is deleted. Because everything it remembers is when it was put in which date, which hour. So you put in this folder and that folder. But if it doesn't have time, is this picture to be remembered or not to be remembered? The only way memory works in a computer because it has a time. Even if you unplug a computer for the longest time, there's a tiny battery in the watch, the clock is still working. And that's how our brain works. So it again has to do something with time. So Bechira is before something happens. Of course, we have to sit here and learn Shabbos and try to pick up as many ideas as we can and try to... But after the fact, if you blame yourself, you're being very human, but it's coming from a Yetzer Hara perspective. The Yetzer Tov perspective is, I am great, I'm a good parent, I'm a good person, I tried my best. if this happened, this is what Hashem wanted it to be. And this is probably the greatest struggle that all of us have, because we went to Chaydim, we went to Yeshiva when we grew up, and we were told that all your actions is up to you. You have Bechira, right? We came in this world to choose. And then suddenly, you have a child and you say, this child has no choice. This child is a trauma victim, right? We went through all this whole training, Sharat Shabbos. And there's no Bechira for this kid. Whatever they're doing, they're not in a state of mind, they're not in a state of making choices. So we come here and this, but for the children, for our other kids, the skips as we call them, the siblings of kips, for them it's torturous. Like, so you're letting that child do whatever you want, and what's happening to us? I'm going to be talking to the skips. There are moments when people do not have Bechira. I learned a lot Sifrei Chasidus, Talmid Hashem. As you can see, my head is very, very programmed. The first few 2-3 generations of Chasidus, I love this Chasidus Surah since I'm a teenager. The Baditche Veruf was Dalekav's Chis, everybody, every time. How is it possible? A big chunk of the Chayrim against Chasidus in the beginning, original time, was this very issue. You makar of people, all the tzaddikim, Talmid Hashem, whenever they saw a Yid, the Amaretz, the guy that was there's a tzaddik, everybody was called tzaddik. And everybody's good, you know, Chush, and the Baal Shem Tov used to take his biggest Talmidim that were 24 hours into the Veikis and the Lakis and everything, and he used to tell him, go for a Shabbos to this and this guy that Amaretz with the Reis, today there aren't such Amaratzim that there used to be then, before Ched and Yeshiva and school. And he said, I want it to be for Shabbos by this person. He said, Rebbe, okay, he was there for Shabbos. The guy doesn't know how to make a mezoinus on a grape juice. He doesn't know. I'm a Eretz. Came back after Shabbos. 100 such stories. Whoever reads anything about Talmid Hashem. And he came back and said, Rebbe, why did he send me there? He said, what did he see there? I said, nothing. Why did he see there? Tell me the schedule. He said, Shabbos morning, when he made his coffee, this Yid, he was crying and he said, Rebbeinu Shalom, please make sure that my children should always be Eir Lachim. And the Baal Shem Tov said that tefillah that he had is bigger than all of our tefillahs davening for. There's another Talmud went and saw another person jumping over the river back and forth, and he said, Tomei, a shepherd. While his sheep were drinking from the water over there, from the stream, he was jumping over the water, and he said, Tomei. That was the only Yiddish Kurdish word this guy knew. And the Talmud of Baal Shem Tov told him, I want you to go to that place for this hour. And don't say anything, hide behind the stone. And he watched this guy jumping back and forth. And he screamed and he said, Tahar! Like, if the guy's already saying a word, let's say Tuhar. Why Tomei? And the guy got confused, Tomei, Tahar. It wasn't the same. Came back to the Baal Shem Tov said, you know, the Shemaim, they're very upset with you. His Tomei, he meant it from his heart. He was davening to Hashem. It was the only word he knew. It was so real, so deep. It made such a rash even in Himmel. You coming and you confused them a little bit. You have to know that it's not so. So the Baal Shem Tov constantly used to take, of course, his Talmidim, we used to learn with them the biggest inyonim in the world. They were the Rebbes of our Rebbes. But he wanted them to understand even the Pushat Yid. And the Pushat Yid is someone that who says this is their Bechira. His Bechira was to say Tomei. Our child, the whole Bechira could be if she should add one more piercing or one less. One cigarette less on Shabbos, that one cigarette less on Shabbos could be in Shemayim a million times. Like I kept Shabbos for 10 years. Do we know where someone else's Bechira is up to? I only know where my Bechira is up to. And this is what I saw a lot in the Kedushas Levi. And many Talmid Hashem. I have Bechira, I know where my Bechira is, I know where my struggles are. And people around me would say, oh, he's doing that thing wrong. He doesn't know what a big struggle it is for me, that one thing. And then other things are so easy for me. And so I say, wow, this is a great guy. Listen, it's easy for me. I know where my Bechira is most of the time, not 100% of the time. Where your Bechira is, I don't know. This is what the Talmid Hashem taught us. I don't know where another person's Bechira is. And if you have this fact in you, you can never judge anybody. And to me, everybody's a tzaddik. Even the people that harmed me and hurt me in my life. At the moment, it's hard. I pass by. There goes the time, and I'm like, if I would be raised in the same environment as this person, with the same genes, the same friends, the same neighbors, and same everything, I would probably be worse. To me, nobody has bechira. Of course, my children, when I'm raising them, I have to train them to make smart choices. But if it doesn't turn out the way I want, they turn into kids. I know, they don't have choices. Who has choices? To me, nobody has bechira. To me, every person is a tzaddik. In Shemaim, the Gemara zogt, what was his name? He went up to Shemaim and he said, Yonim lamatu, v'tachtonim lamatu, the people on this world that we saw, Abu Nechas Yilaparda, right? The Gemara. He went up to Shemaim, tzaddikim were able to do it, and he saw an opposite world. Olam hofech ruisi, zog the Gemara. I saw an opposite world. People on this world were considered high achievers, amazing people, leaders, tzaddikim, and in that world they're in the back. And some people on this world, and on Shemaim, they're oivanun, they're sitting with the crown of the Rebbeinu Shalom on their head. Do we know? We don't know anything. There was a story with this, I heard it from Robert Jacobson recently, such a beautiful story. He said there was a Lubavitcher girl before World War II. She escaped Russia herself without her siblings, and she came to New York. For the first few months she was here, she was mamish, it was Shabbos, keeping Shabbos, she had a job. Every Shabbos she lost her job, and she was moisen nefesh mamish, not to be Michal Shabbos. But after a while, she caved in. Again, do we know where her bechira is? She caved in. Then eventually she opened up her own company, and she became very wealthy. Many, many years later, she lived in Boston somewhere, and there was a Lubavitcher school over there, and they knew that this freie woman, this not from woman, is from Chabad in the Haim. So they went knocking on her door and they said, you're very wealthy, we're Chabad, we want to make a yeshiva. And she said, sure, I want to give back. She gave a huge sum of money. They should build a Toimach Tamimim, whatever it was, one of the meisters. She was in New York once. The Lubavitcher Shlichim wanted her to come into the Rebbe, to the Rayatz. To the Lubavitcher Rebbe Shver, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rayatz. She said, I don't need to go, I'm good. I gave my money. No, but you need to come in. She came in over there, and the Rebbe called her by her name. Her name was Rivka. He remembered her from the Haim. He can't. Maybe they were cousins. She says, so the Rebbe started thanking her. I heard that you gave some money, so tzedukah. Rebbe, ich bin schon nicht frum, Hand. I'm not frum anymore. I don't want you to have a. The Rayat said, mir weissen nicht wer is frum. We don't know who's from. That's where the conversation ended. We don't know who is from. So a Sefer, Chesed Lavroam, we all know the Chidde, the Heilige Chidde. The Chidde Zaide was a Talmud of the Arizal. He lived in Tzvas in the times of the Ariya Kudish. Reb Avrum Azaylua, he wrote beautiful, beautiful Sfurim. It's Kabbalistically and practically very shiny Sfurim. And he writes over there that the Gemara says that Etz Yisrael throws out all the Pasha Yisrael, and it brings in all the tzaddikim. He says, but we see the opposite, he says. I guess in his times there were already a lot of Freie Yidden. Nishka Frimme Yidden. How could it be? The Gemara says that Yisrael keeps the Frimme Yidden and it kicks out the Nesh Frimme Yidden. He said, then it must be mitzad neshmusam, they are tzaddikim gemirim. Hashem took away from them bechira, in mitzvahs asiyas, of doing mitzvahs masiyas, of doing the mitzvahs, because this is not their avodah in this Gilgal, in this time period that they came down in this world. This is not their avodah. They have other things that they need to do now in Israel. They're building the roads, they're building the structures, and this is their schus. It's a shaf of what? We don't know, me weiß nicht wer is from. Our children, our issue that we have with our kids is nicht der Yiddishkeit. Our issue is that we're looking at and we're seeing our children going through pain, and that's why we are so pained for them. Their bechira, we don't know their bechiras. You know how much chesed goes on between this group? We all know that. They help each other, these kids. You go to a chasana, and you see the love between them. It's so real. We are all robots and dancing there like that, And then you see these bucherim. I work with these boys one-on-one. the chesed, they'll run 2 o'clock in the middle of the night. A friend had a flat tire. They all wake up and come with their pajamas and give them a boost, change the tire. The girls help each other. I know we just opened the school. I don't want to talk about it now. They are tzaddikim gemirim. We're just in pain for watching them being in pain. It's not about tzaddik. There was a Yid that came to Reb Heschel Spinker and he said, my son became a Machal Shabbos. My son became a Machal Shabbos in those years. And said, so the Rebbe said, call him, I want to talk to him. Tells the son, the Rebbe's calling, the Rebbe's calling us. Yeah, the Bissel Yiris HaKovid. He comes to the Rebbe, he says, Rebbe, you don't want to talk to me. I'm a Machal Shabbos. Beshler Spinker was a smart man, and he says, Mr. Machal Shabbos, what do you do? What do you mean you're Machal Shabbos? He says, I smoke. He says, you smoke? How many cigarettes do you smoke? An hour. He said, once an hour. How long does it take you? 5 minutes. I said, okay. So throughout the whole Shabbos, you smoke about an hour. So you keep Shabbos 23 hours. This boy, the next Shabbos, took 1 cigarette less, and eventually he settled, became a regular young man, and got married. Baruch Hashem. The father was saying the story, the Chachma of this Rebbe. He didn't see him as a Machal Shabbos. He saw him the hours that he did keep Shabbos. If we point out to our kids all the good things that they do, that's the label they're going to want to label themselves, and they're going to want to live up to that label. And sometimes we're not even able to tell them, at least think of it. It's going to go, it goes through, the vibes are there. I'm dealing one-on-one with the kids all my life, for many, many years. They sense our vibes, if we mean it, if we don't mean it, and what we say. We really need to take home the lesson from today, from this message, and all the other messages we pick up Shabbos. It's a lot of work, but to internalize it and to really see them as people that don't have Bechira. They have Bechira between Hashem, it's nothing with me. To me, nobody in this room has Bechira, and definitely not the kids. They went through traumas and different things. Someone told me, Mamash, this morning, he said that over Shabbos, him and his wife, he chapped, that he always felt that my child never had a trauma and never went through molestation and everything. That's like all this kind. And he reminded himself of something that happened in his family when this kid was like 5, 6 years old. And he said, him and his wife throughout Shabbos chapped that, wow, this must have been haunting that kid, a sight. He didn't tell me what it was, that his children witnessed a very terrible sight. Something happened. We don't know if our children are victims of trauma or not. Most of them are, but regardless. They don't have Bechira. To me, nobody has Bechira. My little kids have Bechira. I try to teach them to have Bechira. They also don't have. One kid has ADHD, can't sit more than 5 minutes. The other kid can. And sometimes I assume that this kid, and then 10 years later I find out something. We don't know. We assume that we know where their Bechira is. Of course, our job, and I spoke about this in the last Shabbaton a lot, how to teach the young kids about Bechira and choices, how they shouldn't beat themselves up when they're trying to choose something right and it doesn't work out. The whole stuff for now. So this is, if we see it that way, it's going to make it so much easier for us, the bishas and what other people think, what that person thinks. That's that person Bechira, or maybe he doesn't even have a choice if he's judging me. I don't even judge the judgers. Because if I judge the judger, I just said that that I'm judging. This judger also doesn't have a Bechira, to me. I only know where my Bechira is up to. I always say when I was a little kid, I used to judge. I got a little older. I stopped judging, and then I started judging the judgers. Then I got a little older, and I realized that I'm judging. Stop with the whole thing. Judging is din. The Baal Shem Tov said, Hashem tzilchu. Hashem is your shadow. A shadow does exactly everything you do. If you don't judge, Hashem doesn't judge you. This is brought down from the Talmid of Hashem, the Baal Shem Tov, many, many times. So in other words, this was something very strong in Chassidus. Hashem tzilchu. If you see the good in another person, Hashem is going to see the good in you. It says from the Talmid of Hashem, I think the Degamach, the Fran, Hashem Tzainikel brings, that before Hashem, there's a Gzeirah Chazashim that has to happen to a person. Hashem sends under a similar story to this person, and Hashem wants to see what this person is going to say. So sometimes the story comes to you, and you say, a guy like that, you gotta put him into jail. You just paskin for yourself something. Only paskin good for other people. Hashem sends you a situation. He wants to see how you're going to paskin, and that's how they're paskin on you. Hashem tzilcha. So we are stopping to judge. And my favorite quote, I'm going to conclude with this. You know, there's so many quotes going around in the world like constantly. But sometimes one quote sticks to us, right? And we're like, don't judge, be curious. Just be curious. We're judging people a whole day. That person dresses a certain way. Oh, don't judge, be curious. The guy cut in front of you in the car, you're like judging him. What were you? It's a red light. Why judging? Be curious. Maybe you can stop the car and ask him, and he'll tell you that his wife is in labor. It happened like this, and it's a srul. The Heilige Bel Zeruschon, the Friedige Bel Zeruch is a malach alekim. And he walked the street. He was very into this avoid of only seeing good and saying good to people. He lived in Tel Aviv at the time. There was hundreds of thousands of Frayim, and they walked like that. And it was a car passed by. Ayoldas. I always used to say it's. And one day there was this big schlepper truck, tow truck, and someone said, "Rebbe, this is also Ayoldas?" The Rebbe said, "Yes." They ran after the truck. There was the driver, and his wife was in labor. Hashem was protecting him. He said, Rebbe said something. I heard from somebody said that his Ida was there. Someone went to the chapel, the Rebbe said, he only saw good. So Hashem paskent on them good, because Hashem listens to us the way we pasken. And the way we pasken on ourselves and the way we pasken on someone else. Be curious. I'm wondering, why did he do this? So your husband does something. He said something. Your wife does something. We judge. We judge all day. We don't realize we judge. I don't understand. Why do you have to do that? Say, I'm curious. Why did he do that? Most of the times when you give them the opportunity to explain, they're going to say, oh. So let's stop judging ourselves. We need to stop judging ourselves. Don't judge yourself. Be nice and kind to yourself. You're also a complex being created of your whole background and your childhood and everything else. So don't judge yourself, and don't judge others. Hashem Shalom, we should all have koyach to go through this design as soon as possible. It should be above time. It should be only pleasure. Let's look it up.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.